Welcome to the Crypto Podcast. You can find all our episodes on thecryptopodcast.org. We're also on BitChute and YouTube. You'll find the links in the podcast description. I forward our podcast, The Awakening, to learn Polish, the meditation, and the speaking, and all can be found on roycon.com. Today, my guest in America, Alabama, founder of Crypto Yowl. Please welcome Josh Rhodes. Did I do it justice? Did I say?
Oh, yeah. You gave it the Southern twang. That's what we need.
Brilliant. So, Josh, you might let the listeners know who you are.
Yeah, I am a guy here in the States. I live in Alabama. I grew up, born and raised here. I was joking earlier. We pronounce our vowel sounds a little bit longer than everyone else, but we're as smart and as handsome as everyone else. So that's all that matters. And we know how to play football. That's our bragging rights right now, at least. And yeah, I'm a full-time crypto investor and business owner, and been doing online business for about a decade and real estate investing since a little bit before the subprime mortgage crisis, and got into crypto about 5 years ago and haven't looked back.
Okay, so you might tell us about your crypto journey from when you started.
Yeah, so I'm no different than most people. Most people get into cryptocurrency investing because they saw a headline or a FOMO social media post at some point when Bitcoin was at its all-time high or near its all-time high. And just like human psychology would dictate, you jump into the market when it's high. And that's what I did about 5 years ago, and bought some Bitcoin and Ethereum. Again, 80% of the people do that. So there's nothing special there about my story, but I don't know if it's because I grew up playing video games. I'm from the Nintendo Entertainment System generation. I remember playing The Legend of Zelda on the gold Nintendo cassette and playing games and like putting together these game narratives and sequences growing up and understanding how things work. And then there was something about what I did and the way my brain, I could figure out why things worked, but somehow I could understand complex things in a simple way. And I had to do that because where I'm from, public school education is not very highly ranked. So we have to think in word pictures and frameworks as much as we do actual literary words and academics. So for me, crypto fixed a lot of problems. And for whatever reason, cryptocurrency, blockchain, and now the way it's getting into the gaming world and the metaverse, and I started to see the applications in the real world. And as an investor, I started realizing, oh, wow, this is like in the gold rush in the States. The people who made all the money were the people selling the picks and the shovels. The railroad barons made all the money because they owned the railroads, the railroad tracks. And so, man, how do we own the railroad tracks of the future? How do we own the infrastructure and the scaffolding of culture and society moving forward? And I started investing more and understanding more. And before I knew it, I basically became addicted to the whole blockchain movement and understanding peer-to-peer networks and how currency is manipulated by governments and big banks. And I just saw that this is really more than anything, a movement of individual sovereignty and freedom. And I'm passionate about it. And that's what I do every day, all the time right now, is invest full time and bring a few investors or retail investors along for the ride a little at a time each month.
Oh, excellent. And when you invested with Bitcoin and Ethereum, when it went up and it dropped, how would you, the psychology of that? Did you end up selling when it dropped, or did you stay in for the long haul? Because there's a lot of people, they get burnt and then they think this is a bad system, when in reality, it's a way better system than the fiat currencies.
Yeah, the people who end up criticizing the currency because they lost money, it's not the currency's fault or the innovation's fault. It's the psychology of human nature. I have definitely been victim of hodling too long, but depending on where you are, you never lose unless you sell low. That's something that people don't understand. The thing that separates investors, at least sophisticated investors and retail investors who are trying to play the crypto lottery or the crypto gambling slot machine, most people are out there just hoping that the slot machine lands on on lucky sevens and they win. But the difference maker is being able to not try to time the top or the bottom. No one can do that. And so you have to have a profit-taking strategy. And primarily the profit-taking strategy is take profits on the way up. And so I learned that the hard way through the 17 and 18 roller coasters. And I was ready, especially last fall, November of 2021, when we were approaching all-time highs. I was selling in October on the way up to that. And yeah, I left some money on the table, but it's way better than having a cinder block of a purse or a portfolio tied to your ankle. And for the last 6 months, last 5 months at least, we've been in a correction phase, and it's not fun being in that.
And when you say hodling, is that holding to hoping that it just keeps going up with, let's say a greed factor? Is that the term, what hodling would be?
It's a popular slang amongst the, especially the crypto Twitter crowd, but it's just holding. And they switch the words around. I think there's more story behind it that I'm unaware of, but yeah.
So you said take out your money. I know one guy that I done, he was basically saying, look, as it's gone up, take out 25%. Then the next, have you a strategy that you feel works for you for actually making sure? I suppose the most important thing is taking out your initial investment. And once you do that, at least the pain is gone.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's all subjective to the individual investor, their time horizon, their, people who join my cohort. What the first thing that I do, I walk with about 10 or 15 investors a month through a crypto cohort, a passive income cohort. And the first thing, number one, before we pass go, before we do anything, is we talk about and we establish what is your ferociously specific desired outcome. What do you want from crypto? Slow down, slow down, slow down. What do you want? Some people just want to pay. They just want to have enough crypto income coming in to pay their $2,000 mortgage or rent each month. Some people want to create, $5 million in the next 12 months. Some people, it's different. Everyone's on a different part of the spectrum of knowledge. Some people have been in the stock market forever. Some people have never invested a dime in anything. Some people are coming from real estate, whatever. So you've got to start from a place where you back out of the economics, you back out of your desired goals. And once you back out of those, then the general strategy, to your point or to your question, is yes, if you are risk averse, but you want to get in the game and you don't want to miss out on the movement, then if you identify yourself as risk averse and you just need to make sure you've got more security, then definitely when you get into an investment, and let's say you put $1,000 into an altcoin or some cryptocurrency and it doubles, go ahead and take the money that you put in out and use the profit as house money and let that be your growth capital from that point on. That's the most solid, down-to-earth strategy that most people use to stay safe, quote unquote, but still be in the game. And then, of course, others who are more risk tolerant, who want to maximize their gains, they keep the capital in and they let it ride and they just try to time the market, which, you have a lower chance of success, but it can work.
Okay. And you mentioned passive income because, not everybody would think that you can have passive income from the crypto. So you might explain that a bit.
Yeah. So, in 2017, 2018, it was far more hard to do it. Now it's way easier because of innovations. The industry and the technology and the innovation on top of the blockchain technologies that are popping up are so vast and dynamic that now we've got all these different breeds and species of crypto investments. And part of what they call the DeFi summer of 2020, a lot of things emerged from that movement that summer. And now, even this year, every quarter, maybe now every month, a new crypto project is popping up. And so you have genres like farming, yield farming, or decentralized finance is a category. And in that, you have farming, you have things like staking, you have revenue sharing. They're basically economically the same project model from each crypto project to another. They all basically share the same tokenomics, which is you can put your capital in and you can earn 0.5%, 1%, up to 2% a day usually, and on your capital. And for example, I'll give you a great example. January 2nd, I put $2,000 on what's called a DeFi as a service project. They take the liquidity pool or the treasury from all of the investors in the project, and they go out and they do yield farming and they do investing. So it's basically a decentralized hedge fund. And then they make money and they bring it back to the pool, or they bring it back to the treasury, and they're redistributing at a fixed rate to the holders, to the investors. And so my capital, in the old days, you could put your money in the bank account and make 5% a year, 3% a year, but now the retail banks don't do that anymore. Now you can make 1% a day, 1.9% a day. Crazy stuff, it sounds like, but it's real too. And it's all because of the algorithmic smart contract management of the protocols, rather than a centralized hedge fund manager, with manual processes and people and all that. So the smart contracts are really changing the game, allowing your money to work a lot more efficiently for you and be more productive.
And is there a risk that basically the people, systems, whatever, is taking the money, that they can lose it and you don't get your money back? Is there a risk factor to your investment?
100%. And that's why it's really important for your listeners. If you don't have exposure to this type of investing, you need to have a rubric. You need to have a framework of qualifying and vetting your investments. Warren Buffett spends 4 hours a day reading, and he's done that his career because he understands that he needs to know the market. He needs to know the industry. He needs to know the businesses that he's buying. This is the same thing. You need to have a checklist, a diagnostic point, 21-point diagnostic checkup on a project before you put your money in. And honestly, again, being from the South and kind of having a different vernacular, the way I explain it is, hey, look, it's good to be biased towards action. People who don't take action, they will never partake in the reward. So it's okay to take action. Just don't throw all your money in. I like to go in ankle deep, get in the water ankle deep, then get in knee deep, then get in waist deep, get in chest deep. And the beautiful part of that, and some people call that dollar cost averaging, but getting in ankle deep allows you to go, okay, here's some money in there. I'm injecting some capital into this project. I'm going to see how it goes. And the reason why I'm in this project is because I want to earn the annual percentage yield that they're giving me. And it comes out to a daily APR, like I was saying, 0.5%, 1%, whatever. So if I'm in ankle deep, let's say I throw $50 or $500 in, whatever ankle deep means to you, just something that shows me how it works. I just want to inject dye into the system so that we can see what's going on the X-ray. And then once I see it, once I get in the community, once I understand what the developers are doing, once you see the roadmap and all the other things on a well-informed checklist of vetting, then you go in knee deep, then you get in waist deep, and you keep compounding. And that's my approach, generally speaking, when it comes to entry points. Okay.
And when you do that with, say, a bank, I know years ago, you would get higher percentages. Sometimes now it's less than 1%. I'm not sure about in the States, but in Ireland and a lot of countries, there's dirt tax, which is tax on the interest that you get. How does it work on something like that then? Is it like a capital gains, or what's the tax that's applicable to, say, if you invested $1,000, let's say you pull out $2,000, or way does that work?
Well, in the United States, and obviously your listeners, depending on where they are, they need to check with their own accountants and government laws. But in the United States, there's short-term capital gains and long-term capital gains. Yeah. So short-term capital gains is pretty much the ordinary income tax bracket that they're in, and then long-term, it vacillates. I think it's right now, I think it's at 15% long-term gains. Don't quote me on that. It could be 20.
Okay. But you can, and there's, I think it's 60% of my audience is in America anyway. And with all my podcasts, there's at least 50% because, the Americans listen to podcasts a lot more than the rest of the world. With the investments, like, can you roll it over? The way some investments, like, so if you have your gains, are you able to roll it over and then it's later you pay the tax? Because sometimes you can do a rollover in real estate. Are you able to do it with that as well?
Yeah, I mean, if it's inside of a custodial account that permits that to happen, like retirement accounts specifically, or specific types of funds that you're a part of. But if you're just doing it, as a trader, as a retail trader from a central exchange or a decentralized exchange, anytime you transfer, swap, or sell, that's a taxable event. So now there's compounding that happens, and there are certain projects that basically protect you from getting taxed every time there's compounding happening by wrapping. They call it wrapping. They wrap your tokens, and it's basically like having a cookie jar, and the cookies keep multiplying inside the cookie jar, but the cookie jar doesn't have to get bigger. And so you're actually taxed on the cookie jar, not the cookies inside. And so you only get taxed once you actually open the cookie jar and sell and, take profits.
Or take that's the best way. Because if you are, if you're gaining all the time, then you're right. Yeah, you're paying the tax after. Yeah, because some countries, I know you're not able to do that. But so I like the metaverse then, because especially in the kind of real estate side, because I'm seeing that people have bought properties for like $500,000 that really don't exist. And it's like, to me, I can't get my head around that. It's like, if somebody said to me that they've spent $500,000, bought what, from reading stuff, I look at people collect, like, say, a special Nike runner, or they were collecting beanies, or they're collecting, everybody's got their own thing. And instead of mocking it, it seems like this is another thing that there is people genuinely interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to metaverse, especially like metaverse real estate and land, like I'm really into that. Going back to my earlier comments about growing up in a video game, in the 80s, in the video game generation, like being able to own the land, like as a real estate investor, owning the land, I know that those are precious accretive assets that I own, and they have tax shelter value as well, and income generation value. In the metaverse, you can have all that except for the tax depreciation, and it's virtual. You can earn rent on your land in the metaverse. You can flip it for profit. There's a particular game that I'm a landowner. I own land in four play to earn games currently. None of them are publicly released yet. I got in relatively early. And one of them is the Sandbox, which a lot of your listeners will be familiar with. It's the second largest market cap metaverse game behind Decentraland. Decentraland launched in like 2018, way ahead of its time. That's where you see a lot of big banks like JP Morgan Chase and other places buying these $4.3 million virtual mansions or opening lounges in Decentraland. That's kind of happening there. It's like the incumbent metaverse play. Sandbox is something new. It's more like a Minecraft or a Roblox that our kids play. And it's a massive multiplayer open world. Snoop Dogg, Atari, Pokemon, Care Bears, a lot of the old brands, a lot of the new brands, a lot of the big NFT brands like Bored Ape Yacht Club, a lot of the centralized exchanges like Gemini, Coinbase, Crypto.com, Binance.us, Binance.org. All of those companies they started buying up land, especially last summer and earlier last year. And so like in August, I bought some land on the secondhand market on OpenSea.io where you can buy NFTs. And obviously land presents itself as an NFT ultimately is what it takes. But to your point about NFTs, you know, it's silly. Some of them seem silly. It seems like silly artwork and silly pictures. And really, I think it had to start there. Just so that we did not have a language for the technology, which is really smart contracts. We needed almost to like camouflage this technology so that we could get it into the zeitgeist, into the pop culture more easily and more readily understood. And so now you've got guys like me and you talking about silly pictures and JPEGs that people pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for, catching everyone's attention. And now we get to enlighten everyone and go, oh, well, it's really because there's a smart contract under that art or under that land in the video game. And that smart contract is algorithmically programmed to give the owner of that silly JPEG or that piece of land certain benefits. And it distributes those benefits and it acts as like that arbiter or that third party of truth, so that human greed or human manipulation or whatever corruption cannot keep the originator, the content creator, or the owner from getting what is due to them, because they're the people who put up the risk. They're the people who put up the capital. It's a free market, and it's the ultimate tool, I think, of a free market society, which is the smart contract.
And with the smart contracts, then have you actually seen that in? Because I know that there's builders doing like NFTs on real projects. Have you actually come across anything, or can you explain a bit about that, whether it's land or actually a building project using NFTs?
Yeah. So for me, my personal strategy so far has just been like buy and hold on the land side, because I'm waiting on the games to go public. When the games go public, depending on the roadmap and depending on their adoption, I'll give a few names of the games that maybe your audience wants to keep an eye out for. Obviously, the sandbox I mentioned. The Decentralised, the ticker symbol is MANA, MANA. It's tradable on Coinbase. I actually invested in MANA when it was under 80 cents, and last fall, I think it jumped up above $2 or $3. So that was a nice altcoin investment. But you can buy land there. You can buy NFTs inside the sandbox in Decentraland. Like NFTs can take all shapes. It's not just land. You can buy a pair of car keys. You can buy a boat. You can buy a pet dragon. You know, whatever you can build in a fake make-believe world, it's appearing as an NFT, and you can own that asset and sell it on the secondhand market and make money, etc. But other games, like there's another game that's launching that's beautiful, aesthetically beautiful, and it reminds me of The Legend of Zelda. It's called Ember Sword. I bought some land in there, and each of these games have open land sales, and they have public land sales and private land sales and NFT whitelists, all that stuff. So you can do that. What's another one? Oh, Crypto Unicorns. I think they're launching within the next 30 days or so. CryptoUnicorns.fun, I think, is their website. Really cool project. I own a unicorn. I'm not afraid to say that as a 42-year-old man. And I own a lot of land in their little galaxy there. And so I'm just waiting on these games to go public, get mass adoption, and really take advantage of Metcalfe's law of adoption, which is basically the more people that jump onto a particular network, the more valuable the network as a whole becomes and the assets on that network becomes. And so for me, the strategy with land is going to be probably not passive income, probably not going to charge rent, although there will be an opportunity to do that, to rent out your NFTs. But what I'll probably do is flip it and just take it as a profit, much like you would a piece of real estate, and buy land outside of town, and then the city sprawl grows, and then you sell the land to some business or real estate developer and take home a lot of money. That's my personal strategy with my metaverse real estate investing. So I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah. It's like because you mentioned Minecraft, because it's my youngest son. You know, he's 8. He's kind of totally into that, and I see all the friends and there's such amount of people. Like there's one Polish guy, there's a few channels, but there's one YouTube channel he watches, and the Polish population is 38 million, and the guy has got 1 billion views, and I'm like, how is that even possible? And it's like people are just constantly watching a few times and watching every single thing he goes out. So people are engaged in that, and I think it's the same thing. It's early days for this, but the fact that you've got in, and I look at Minecraft, I don't get it. I look at it, do I find it in? Because you mentioned the games you weren't. I was a bit earlier than that, and that we had like the Spectrum 48K, the Commodore 64, and we were like addicted to games, and we would constantly getting into it. And I see this looks like it's this kind of thing as well. There's so many people getting into it, and it's so early because you mentioned NFTs to people, and it goes over a load of their heads. When you consider the percentage that's involved in it, it's tiny. So we've missed.
Yeah, for me, the aha moment for especially with crypto gaming was when because in having children, and depending on the age of the listener, the having children who play these games that are virtually, it's the exact same thing my mom and dad thought. They thought I was frying my brain and that I was wasting time and all that stuff. But I couldn't buy stuff inside of Mario Brothers. But in Minecraft and Roblox, like they're spending real money for fake stuff that doesn't have any US dollar equivalent. And so I'm just like, oh gosh, why am I letting them do this? But then crypto gaming started coming out going, oh, this is play to earn. So like now they can play games that are basically like Farmville, but it's called Town Star, and you can earn town coins. Or they can play Sandbox that's like Minecraft, but it's not Minecraft, it's Sandbox, and you can earn sand, and then you can trade sand for US dollars, and you can make an income, all that stuff. And so it blew my mind, and I thought, oh wow, this is literally the future. Like there's going to be a $30 trillion crypto gaming community, and everyone's going to, like 80% of the population is going to quit working, where all of our supply chains are going to dry up, and we're all just going to be plugged into video games earning money. So I hope we all don't go hungry.
Exactly. Well, yeah, Farmville isn't going to feed you anyway.
No.
So just finally, which crypto wallet and exchange do you recommend?
I find it hard to recommend one central exchange because they all have different utilities, or they have different indexes. They list different numbers. I am a Coinbase user, and I also have a Binance account. I have a KuCoin account. I have about a half a dozen central exchange accounts for various reasons, just because some central exchanges might not list the account or the crypto that I want. And then obviously to go off of you can always get outside the central exchanges and use your decentralized exchanges, where you can get the obscure stuff or swap stuff or bridge from certain layer one platforms to others. And but yeah, I started with Coinbase, Gemini, Binance.us. I really like having a Binance account because just having that BNB on the Binance Smart Chain, I find a lot of my decentralized finance investing happens on the Avalanche network or the Binance network. A lot of those projects build on those two layers. And so having those two native coins to be able to denominate into these DeFi projects that I like is super helpful. So starting with a Binance account, maybe a Coinbase account, is a really well-rounded approach.
And with the actual cold wallet, then which one would you recommend?
I'm a MetaMask guy. It can be buggy, but in my opinion, it's the incumbent. I have yet to try to invest in a project, get in quick, and be nimble and agile in the market, and not be able to connect to the project with my MetaMask. I'm always able to connect and move my funds in. So it's been dependable so far, but I would recommend everyone use a cold wallet storage. If you're managing $10,000 or more in crypto, make sure you are keeping yourself safe and that you own those private keys. and get yourself an offline storage device.
Yeah, excellent. Well, Josh, thoroughly enjoyed our conversations. You might let people know how they can find you.
Yeah, easy. CryptoYall.co. That's crypto YALL.co, not .com, .co. We try to be a little different. And there you can download one of my case studies where I took one of my portfolios from $0 to $232,000 and follow along for the ride. And if you're interested in joining one of my monthly cohorts and walking with me and a handful of other investors together, email me directly, josh@cryptoyall.co, and we'll schedule a time to talk.
Excellent. Yeah. I'll make sure I put all the links in both the audio and the video. So
great. Thank you.
That's all for the Crypto Podcast. You'll find all our episodes on thecryptopodcast.org. As mentioned, we're on BitChute and YouTube. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating, subscribe. It all helps. Until next week, take care.